Welcome back to another edition of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. And when we come back, Trudeau's bored.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, as my dear Cat's Ash always reminded us, please ring the bell. Please like the station and do it now if you can, because it does help us beat that algorithm. Thanks so much for your support in the last episode we did on the Freedom Convoy trial that had resumed. I'll get into what happened since then, but thank you for your support. And I want to remind everybody, we've got these t-shirts in the store, Resolve to Resist and Think While It's Still Legal. And we've also got Chris Barber's truck, Big Red. So I encourage you to have a look and buy some. We really, really appreciate it. I should wear them more often. And when I do my guest slots on Redacted, I often wear their hoodie. But I don't often wear my own material enough, and I should. And I'm casual today. So, usually it's a shirt and tie, but it's a Saturday here. We're just recovering from Friday. And no, it wasn't a wild night. I'll tell you what happened on Friday before I get into what Trudeau is up to. And Trudeau's bored of this job, but we'll get into that in a minute. He's bored of being a dictator, bored of telling you how to live, what to do. But what happened Friday with the Freedom Convoy trial? Well, believe it or not, everybody was there, for 10:15 or so. And Judge Heather Perkins McVeigh arrives and says, "Get out. We're all coming back on August 13th. And they've got 8 days in August to examine this Carter application, which is legalese for the prosecution's demand or request that the activities of Tamara, Lich, and Chris Barber be grouped together, that they be deemed co-conspirators." Now, obviously, the defense thought this should have been dismissed outright because it's a real time waster. The judge decided she would entertain the thoughts from the prosecution on this. So this is going to take up about 4 days' time. Another 4 days for summation at the end of August. So we won't really be looking at a verdict until, I predict, late September at the earliest. That means this trial will have lasted a year and will be about 50 odd days by that point. Now that's really outrageous. And it's egregious as far as I am concerned. And this is a mischief trial. These people are charged with mischief. And as I say in my Epoch Times article today, please have a look at it. It's an outrage that this has gone on for so long. Because every time Tamara, Lich, and Chris Barber have to appear in court, they have to travel from their respective locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan all the way back to Ottawa at their own cost, of course. Nobody's picking up every dime of this trial for them. They are getting some assistance. Yes, I know it. Thank God, because could you afford 40 days, 50 days of a trial? I couldn't. It runs into a lot of money when you got 3 lawyers working here. So I think it's outrageous, but I do believe the judge is doing this for a reason. She's been pretty fair during this trial. She's no fool. And she's been listening intently to all the evidence. Now, the prosecution has done a horrible job of presenting either Tamara or Chris as being guilty of anything except telling their people to protest peacefully, obey the police, and don't bother the Ottawa residents. We must have heard this 2 dozen times when they said this on social media. And they pleaded with people to do that. Make it a peaceful protest. Keep protesting peacefully. Don't let anybody say that we did it wrong. I heard it so many times in the testimony, and I was there from day one of this trial. I might have missed a couple of days throughout, but I have been very particular about attending and being there because I think this is historic. I think it's nothing but political persecution, but I think the judge has been fair overall. And I think she's allowing this Carter application to go forth because I think she wants to say, I did everything possible to be fair to both sides. There's no room for appeal because that's the last thing these people need is appeal. I think it's clear to me no crime was committed, that they're innocent. I can't predict how the judge is going to rule on this. I hope she rules in Tamara Lich and Chris Barber's favor, and I think she will. But I don't say that based on anything but my own speculation and the fact that I think she's been fair and objective. And if you're fair and objective in this trial, it's pretty hard not to rule on the side of Tamara and Chris, as far as I am concerned. That's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not ascribing those opinions to any lawyer. So it's incredible. We were prepared to come back next week for Monday, Tuesday, at least maybe 3 days, but we're basically coming back, in August now. And yeah, it should never have taken this long, but that's where the Freedom Convoy trial is. And I've been, like I say, I've been writing about it since day one. Please have a look at my latest column here if you can. And I wrote about the second day of the trial where there was actually some substance for the post-millennial. And you can also look that up. And you can find those stories on X if you care to. But what else is going on this weekend? Well, Trudeau is again. Did you hear today? Trudeau is in the midst of there's a Liberal Party fundraiser in Toronto again, and the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian people are disrupting it. So it's ironic to me. Trudeau's bending over backwards to try to appease everybody. He's everybody's friend in this Gaza conflict, and he's just getting nothing but crap from everybody, which is what he deserves. But here's the latest on Trudeau, and this went largely unnoticed in Canada because it was a Radio-Canada interview in French, en français. So those don't really get reported outside of Quebec if they're not translated. And apparently CBC just didn't report it. The English language CBC did not report it. Radio-Canada reported it in Quebec. And it's quite an interview. I haven't heard or read the whole thing in French. The BBC, of all people, did translate portions of it and put it up on their website. And get this, Canada's Justin Trudeau says he thinks daily about leaving crazy job. It's just a crazy job, and he says he's bored at times. And we'll get to that. I think about quitting every day. It's a crazy job I'm doing, making the personal sacrifices. Yeah, poor Justin. It's super boring at times. Super boring. It's really boring lording it over you, folks. It's really boring telling you how to live, what to do, what to think. That's really boring for poor Justin. I guess it was more fun in drama class, when he was interacting with his students the way he was. But I don't know what it takes to keep Justin excited about doing work. It's clear he's not engaged in the job. He's engaged in making your life miserable. He's engaged in pushing his policies on climate change, euthanasia, Ukraine, and economic catastrophe, but he doesn't seem to be too engaged in being a prime minister for all the people, the prime minister of Canada. He is the prime minister for Justin Trudeau. So poor Justin finds this super boring at times, and that's so sad. That's so sad, and I don't know. Do you suppose he has trouble deciding what's important? I think maybe that might be an issue for him. But anyway, I just found this to be so funny, and very few people picked up on the story. It's one of those weekend stories that if you're not watching the news, it's very easy to miss, and it hasn't been picked up by too many people. But the other day, of course, Justin Trudeau said that he's not into popularity. That's not what this is about for him. It's the job of being a prime minister is not a popularity contest. Well, actually it is, Justin, because you don't get elected if you're not popular. You don't get reelected if you're really unpopular. But of course, that is distraction for Justin Trudeau, because it's not about being elected, apparently, for Justin Trudeau the next time, because I think he will try anything, use any justification, use any excuse, exploit any crisis. He won't let a crisis go to waste. As we've heard from so many people on the left who would love to repeat that mantra. Don't let a crisis go to waste. Exploit the crisis for your own purposes. Trudeau will do that if he thinks he can get away with it, because he wants to keep promoting his policies that are devastating the economy. His carbon tax, which is destroying lives. He's letting his environment and climate change minister, the moronic Stephen Guilbeault, run roughshod over the rights and freedoms of Canadians as he destroys the economy with his Green New Deal and with his electric cars that aren't going to work, insisting we all give up fossil fuels and even electricity because we've got to adapt to solar energy and wind power and all of these illusionary green energy obsessions that he has. So that's what Justin Trudeau's focused on. And he's focused on euthanasia, of course. He wants to expand the program to the mentally ill. He wants to be around to do that in 2027. And he's very, very concerned about gender ideology, even though education is not a federal matter. But he can't stop sticking his nose into that. He can't stop telling the provinces that they've got to be more concerned with gender-affirming care, which is the worst, the most deceptive, mendacious euphemism for mutilation of children I have ever run across. Absolute nonsense. But of course, he's always sticking his foot into this provincial jurisdiction, telling them how they should adopt their policies, telling them he doesn't like policies coming from Alberta that are more common sense than anything we've seen anywhere in Canada right now. But Justin's bored. What else did Justin say to the BBC? But in a 24-minute interview released on Friday with a French language broadcaster, Mr. Trudeau said, "I could not be the man I am and abandon the fight at this point. I think about quitting every day. It's a crazy job I'm doing, making the personal sacrifices," said the leader, who has been in office since 2015. Of course, it's super tough. It's super boring at times. My heart goes out to Justin. It's so super tough. We learn every Christmas when he interviews his old buddy who used to host a English language station in Montreal, a show at an English language station in Montreal, just how skin deep Justin Trudeau is, just how shallow this man is. His reading tastes and the kind of television and movies and films he likes to watch are the sort of things most teenagers would get excited about. He is such an incredibly shallow individual. And he's really not that excited about his job because it doesn't concern superheroes and science fiction. He has to deal with real issues and real people and policies that really affect you and I. So that's not exciting, Justin Trudeau. It's super boring. And I guess he's tired. He's tired of lording it over you. He's tired of being a dictator. But history demands he do so. He has to be there. He has to keep fighting for these vacuous causes that are destroying Canada. Chief among them is censorship. He wants that online harms bill desperately to pass. He desperately wants it to pass. He wants to increase the censorship in this country. He wants people arrested for thought crimes. He wants people fined $100,000 for speech that is judged to be hateful, that upsets somebody, that is offensive to somebody. He wants people to spend life in prison for that. He wants to set loose the human rights tribunals again on people for saying the wrong thing. That's for Justin Trudeau. That excites Justin Trudeau. So that's the fight he's talking about. That's why he wants to stay in the political arena, to keep pushing those offensive, very detrimental policies. That's what Justin Trudeau is all about. So I hope you got a laugh about that today, because once in a while, Justin Trudeau is honest. He is an habitual liar in the House of Commons and at news conferences about just about everything. But once in a while, there's a moment of truth. Once in a while, a moment of truth. And we got that with this interview. If I see it available in English, I'm going to put a link in the next broadcast, or I'll put it up on my X site. So have a look. I'll let you know if I find it. Thanks for watching today. Always appreciate your support. Subscribe if you haven't. Resubscribe if you have to. Thank you. We're approaching 20,000. And we recently reached the plateau of 100 shows of Stand on Guard. When we started this, I had been doing shows at the Western Standard under another name. And I didn't know if I could do this. I didn't know if I could do this for any length of time, but it's really become the focal point of my life. And thanks for watching. Thanks for increasing the membership. Thanks for giving us those extra numbers. There's broadcasts out there that I sometimes are inexplicable to me how they're attracting so many people, but YouTube is pushing them. YouTube has been suppressing this show and the material on this show from day one. But gradually, we are breaking through that ceiling. We're breaking through that ceiling. And we are doing it with your support. Thank you so much. And I will leave you with this little extra here, as I always do. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the KRAYDEN resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member, through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well. That's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the Krayden's Right Resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist